Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo, and welcome to Photoshop Masterclass, where we're focusing on curves. Now, last time round, we looked at how curves can be used globally, affecting the entire image to change contrast within the picture. And this time, we're going to look at some more advanced features of curves, how they can be used selectively to affect different parts of the image, and how they can be used to adjust color balance within the picture, and within different parts of the picture too. Before we plow ahead, let's have a look at what we can achieve. Well, here's a picture. You'll find it on the CD. It's called hamburg.jpg, and it's looking rather cold, rather flat. And by using curves alone, what we can do is warm up the picture by applying a color change. Already it looks 100% better, but there's more we can do. Take a look at this quayside area here. That could do with a bit more contrast and a bit more warmth, so we can do that using curves. Just make that subtle change to improve the tones in that part of the picture. Then the sky is looking a bit pale and wan, so we can use curves to beef it up. And then these buildings over on the left, they're looking a bit bright actually, and they're fighting the foreground for attention, so we can actually tone those down a bit, again using curves. Then the buildings over on the right, they're looking a bit dark and a bit somber, so we can brighten those up in the same way. Now let's have another look at that sky again, and perhaps it could do with a bit more work, so we can actually darken that down and add a bit more blueness to it, just to help out the summer's day feel for this particular shot. Then to round the whole thing off, we could add a nice subtle vignette effect just around the outside, just darken down the outside extremes of the image, just to focus attention on the central points, the boat through to the cathedral. And we can do that again using curves, just that nice subtle darkening. Now we've seen all these changes, all made using curves. We've seen them step by step, bit by bit. But if we look at the whole, and we just go back to our starting point, you can see there it makes an enormous difference. And if we put everything on that we've done in one fell swoop, there's our starting point, and that's where we're going to get to, which is a much better looking image. Okay, so that's what we're going to achieve in a short while, that whole process, the whole step by step. But before we do that, let's have a look at how curves can be used to adjust color balance, and indeed how curves can be used selectively so it only affects small parts of the image at a time. Okay, we're back to our starting point now. To bring up curves, all you need to do is go to Image Adjustments and choose Curves, or indeed hit the shortcut Ctrl and M on the keyboard. That brings up our curves palette, and what we can do is move the curve around to change contrast in the image. From the first episode we learned that the steeper the curve gets, the more contrast we add, and the flatter the curve gets, the less contrast we add. But as we're about to find out, curves isn't just about contrast. Let's just get rid of those anchor points we've put into the curves grid. Up here, the channel box where it says RGB, if you click on that, you can select any of the three channels that makes up a digital image. You can go for red or green or blue. And if we select red, by pushing the curve upwards, we add more red to the image. Let's just try that. Just push it upwards and you can see the red color increasing over the entire picture. If we pull it down, we get negative red, or the opposite of red, which is cyan. So to make red and cyan color adjustments, just select the red channel and push the curve for red, pull the curve for cyan. Okay, then of course there's green, the next channel along, and we can do the same thing with this, and this time we're working on the green to magenta axis. So we can push it up for more green in the image, and we can pull it down to get more magenta. Finally, we've got the blue channel, and this works from blue to yellow. So pushing gives you blue, pulling gives you yellow. And the easiest way to remember whether you push or pull is the channel that's actually marked red, green or blue. If you go upwards with the curve, you will get more of that color, and if you pull the curve downwards, you'll get less of that color. That's pretty much how it works. And we can see here we're affecting color balance quite dramatically, and to warm up an image, which is what we want to do with this particular one because it's a bit cold, we're going to add a little bit of yellow or negative blue. So we pull down the blue channel a touch just to get some yellow into that, and then we switch to red, and we're going to increase the red content too. And there we have a nicely warmed up picture. And an easy way to check whether you like what you've got is just click on the preview. Click on that, there's our rather cool starting point, and there's our nicely warmed up picture. So that's how we can affect colour balance in an image, and all you need to do is make very subtle tweaks. Just small pushes and pulls of the curve will do the trick nicely. Now, we established last time round that curves and levels are closely related, and if we just jump out of curves and open levels instead by hitting Ctrl and L, you can see that same channel box appears in the levels palette. There it is. RGB affects all of the image, so you make contrast changes by going across the whole lot. But if you want to make color changes, you can just select the red channel, for example, or the green, or indeed the blue channel, and do the same kind of thing. Let's just pick red for the time being. The difference is you've only got 3 points of control in levels, whereas in curves you can set a possible maximum of 14 anchor points along the curve itself. But this is enough for colour balance changes, because with levels, the easiest way to do it is to use the central slider, the gamma slider here. Move it one way and you get more of the colour, move it the other way you get less of the colour. So with the red channel as an example, move it to the left and you'll increase the red content of the image, move it to the right and you'll get more cyan. So you're doing exactly the same thing in levels, and this is great because it means you can make colour balance changes using the levels palette. If you're a bit nervous about curves and just want to adjust colour, then you can use levels and you'll be happy. It's also great for elements users who don't have access to the full range of curves functions, so they can use levels to actually change colour balance. So in a sense, it's kind of working the opposite way, whereas in curves with the red channel, you push it to add more red. In the levels, you actually pull it to the left to get more red content. It's doing the same thing though, so that's a handy tip. Right, out of levels and back into curves. Now, one of the problems with contrast adjustments is that if you leave it set to RGB and you pull contrast or push contrast to get a better bite to the image, you're working globally, you're working across the entire image. So if we really wanted to brighten up, let's say this area down here, and we push that to brighten up that area, we're blowing out the sky, we're losing detail in the sky. Now we can kind of try and tweak that and pull it back in, but it's not that effective because we start ending up with a strange curve that breaks up the entire image. So that's not great. Let's just hold down the Alt key and click on Reset to get back to a straight line. What would be perfect would be if we could adjust contrast selectively in different parts of the image. And of course, that's what we can do. But to fence off one part of the image to make a curves adjustment, what you need to do is first select the part you want to change. So let's jump out of curves for the time being, and we'll pick up a selection tool. The freehand lasso will do the trick nicely. Let's say we want to change this key side here, and we want to increase the contrast and perhaps warm it up a bit. All we have to do is select it first. So we use our selection tool, draw around the part we want to change, make sure we go all the way around the edge. There we go, and we have it selected. We're now fenced off. So if we want to make a curves change, Control and M, it will only affect that part of the image. That's all well and good, but of course we've got a hard edge line down it. So we need to soften this line down here. And the way to do that is to go to Select and choose the Feather command. And a feather radius of somewhere between 100 and 200 pixels is normally fine depending on the size of your image. So I'm going to go for about 150 on this particular picture and click OK. And what that does is softens the edge of my selection. Now that's the command you need to use in Photoshop 6, 7, CS, CS2, but if you're using version CS3, instead of going to Select Feather, go to Select Refine Edge, and then use the Feather slider under the Refine Edge dialog box to actually make that change. Okay, if you're not quite sure how much feathering to use, an easy way is just to apply your feathering. I've got 150 pixels here, and then hit Q on the keyboard, and you immediately go into quick mask mode, and you can see there the nice subtle blend along the edge of that selection. Hit Q again to get rid of it. What 150 pixels means in terms of feathering is that we'll go 75 pixels this side of the line to gradually blend into the rest of the picture, and we'll go 75 pixels on the other side of the line to blend it through. So hit Q quickly. That's a great tip just to see how your feathering's taking shape. Right, with that done, we can just bring up curves as we just have, just Control and M and make the change to it. Now we've got a nice feathered selection, and that's all well and good. But to make it more adjustable and to give you the opportunity to change your mind later on, We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to bring up the Layers palette and use an adjustment layer. So if you go to Window, Layers, or just hit F7, our Layers palette will pop up on screen. And down at the bottom is this half black, half white circle, which is the Create a New Fill or Adjustment Layer icon. Click on that, and from the list you can select an awful lot of the things that are in the Image Adjustments menu. There's Curves, click on that, and our Curves palette pops up just as normal. But if we just move it out of the way, you can see there, that's the selection we've made with the feathering. What this is a mask that's attached to the Curves adjustment layer. And it means that the white area in the mask is the part you're going to affect, and the black area will remain unchanged. So if we do make a curves change now, and we sort of pull the curve down to affect contrast, perhaps introduce a bit of an S-curve just to get a bit more bite into that part of the image, we're only affecting that part of it because it's working with that mask in the Layers palette. So we've made a contrast change there to the key side. What we're also going to do is warm it up as well. So we'll just go for the red channel, push it up just a touch, just a little tweak there, and a bit of blue as well. We'll just select the blue channel, and we'll pull it down. So we're actually getting negative blue in this example, or giving us some yellow into the red mix. The red we've increased, now we've increased a bit of yellow, so we get that nice amber warm-up tone. Okay, so that's made a change to our key side. To just check that change, we can either switch the preview on and off to see the difference we've made, or we can click OK, accept the change, and just switch on and off the eye icon here. And there's the change we've made to that curves adjustment. We can then carry on. We've got our freehand lasso tool selected in the toolbox. Let's work on this sky perhaps. Just draw a line along the sky, something like that should do the trick. Again, feather that selection, select feather, 150 pixels should do the trick nicely. If you want to check that feathering, hit Q, and there's our nice gradual blend we have. Hit Q again to get out of that mode, and then we just go for our curves adjustment layer, and this time we're going to just drag that down a bit to increase contrast in that area of the sky. That looks pretty good. Click OK. And there's our mask. The white part is the part we're affecting, the black part we're not touching at all. So that curves adjustment layer we've made only affects the sky. Now we can see the difference it makes by switching on and off the eye icon. So that's the principle, and the beauty of doing it this way using adjustment layers is you can go back and change your mind. If we decide that that sky is not quite right and it should be a bit bluer or something like that, we just double click on the curves icon, this one here, double click on that, and you go back to the settings you've just made. So if you want to go a bit darker, that'll do the trick. Perhaps increase contrast just a little touch there, something like that. And maybe we want to increase the content of blue in that one. So for blue, we push the curve up, and we get a bluer, brighter sky as a result. Or we can go grayer by adding more yellow. Whatever you want to do, you can do it there. Then click OK again, and we have those changes that we've made. Just see them before and after. And that's how we can use adjustment layers to really build up an image using curves. So that's the theory behind what we're going to do, and please join me in part 2 where we'll do this entire step-by-step of this Hamburg picture and build it up using curves adjustment layers to get a really good looking image. And so you can see what we're going to do. We're going to take this picture and using our layers palette and lots of curves adjustment layers, we're going to build it up into something quite special. There's all these adjustment layers. Looks horribly technical, but as you can see, it's just lots and lots of little steps taken one at a time. So we get all these adjustment layers to give us a much better looking image. So join me in part 2, and we'll see how the whole thing comes together.